Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I hope we're all starting off the day really well with contacting people in booths as well as chatting with our live professors and such here. Super excited to see so far. We have a few students in the chat, but before we do get started, I do want to just do a quick land acknowledgement, just because even though not a lot of us are on campus right now, it is important to recognize that Carleton is located on the traditional and unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. This is really our shared space where we all get to practice and study. So it is really important for us to acknowledge that before we begin each and every single one of our sessions. But without further ado, I will pass it on to our lovely presenters here, and they can give you a bit of information today. Feel free to use the Q&A buttons at the top. I will kind of be the host and managing that. Without further ado, I will pass it on. Enjoy the presentation today.
Thank you, Giovanna. So, bonjour et bienvenue. Thank you for joining us for Carleton University's French Department Open House today. So today we've got a little bit of time together here. I'll do my best to tell you about our department, a little bit about what it's like to do a degree in French at Carleton, and the kinds of doors that it can open up for you. And so we'll start with French, and then Christine, my colleague, will tell you about African studies. So for the French part, you'll get to meet the department chair. You'll get some straight talk from Marta, who's our student ambassador, and Jose, who graduated from the program recently. And you can, as Giovanna said, you can put your questions and comments into the chat, and I'll try to answer it while we're going through the presentation, or we'll have time for it at the end, a few minutes for where you can ask us anything you like. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm Eric Annonby, and I'm the undergraduate advisor. If you decide to study French at Carleton, that's the person that you get to sit down with each year to help you figure out your courses. Talk about the kinds of things you like to study, where you want your degree to take you, and how you want to get there. Things like exchanges in Europe or employment co-op programs. And that's what we're here for. And I also get to let people know about the department at events like this. So today, to start off with, we're joined by Carmen Leblanc, the chair of the department. So Carmen, do you want to put your video's on already, so I just say bonjour and anything else you'd like to tell us.
Okay, so I'm Carmen Leblanc, and I'm chair of the French department. So I'd like to welcome you and to thank you for attending our open house. So in a few minutes, Eric will do the presentation of our programs. It'll be followed by the questions as he explains. So classes at the French department are very small by any standards. So no class is more than 36 students and the average is 16. So one of the benefits is that we get to know our students very well and they get to know us. We can follow their progress closely and help them to make the best decisions for the future. So I'd like to say a few things about, a few highlights about the program. It's a program for non-Francophone who want to learn or improve their French, or Francophones who choose Carleton and want to keep up with it. So anyone at the department speaks French, and I mean not only the profs, but also the administrative staff, the assistants. There's always an opportunity to practice your French. So Eric will go now into more details about the programs, and he'll highlight some of the exchange, the co-op, and all the things you can do at Carleton if you come here and study French. So I hope you have an informative day and that you choose Carleton for your studies. It's yours, Eric.
Oh, great. Thank you, Carmen. Yeah, so maybe the first thing you're asking yourself is, if I'm going to spend the next few years of my life at university, where's it going to take me? And the great thing about a French degree is that you have a pretty good shot at a career in some of the best employing fields in Ottawa and in Canada, actually. Yeah, the big joke is that everyone in Ottawa works for the federal government, but the public service is, that's who keeps the country ticking. And it's not just the government, the federal government, that's looking for bilingual employees. Knowing French is a sought after skill for the provincial government, City of Ottawa, cultural institutions like museums, art galleries, Library and Archives Canada, working in business, foreign affairs, public relations, and community services like social work, counseling, park services, and even the police, the good ones, at least. Yeah. So another big ticket career that's pretty obvious with a degree in French is becoming a French teacher. And that's something that they're always short of in Ontario, across the country. And our program in French, it's an excellent preparation for getting admitted to a Bachelor of Education program. You might think, well, Carleton doesn't have a Faculty of Education, but we do have an agreement with Nipissing University, that's just 3 hours from Ottawa. So our graduates who meet the entrance requirements are guaranteed a spot in their teacher training program. And a BA in French is also a path toward other programs like law, Masters in Business Administration, journalism, translation studies, just to give a few examples. So what kind of programs do we offer? You'll learn more about this if you decide to apply, and I'm happy to be part of that conversation. But for now, here's a list of a few ways that you might want to make French a part of your university education. You can do a BA, Bachelor of Arts, with a major in French. And so an honors BA takes 4 years, or the BA itself 3 years. You can do a combined honors, like a double major, where you have French plus, well, some popular combinations are French and journalism, history, law, psychology, linguistics, and believe it or not, lots of people like to do French and English. Another option you might want to explore is Carleton's Bachelor of Global and International Studies. It's called the Begins, which offers a specialization in French and Francophone studies. And then some students just add a minor, that's 8 courses in French, so that they get to feel more comfortable when speaking and writing in French. And we also offer a minor in Quebec studies. One thing that's great here is that you can start with one French course. You might decide to add a French minor. And if you like, you might decide to stay on and do a major in French. We'd be happy to have you. It's normal, straight out of high school. You're not sure what you want, but you can change your mind. And any course you take, it's never wasted. It can count towards a minor or your electives. So why would you choose to do a French degree at Carleton? I mean, wouldn't it be just as easy to get a degree in Quebec or even at Ottawa U? So there's definitely a place for both of those directions, but Carleton, as Carmen mentioned, it's got some pretty unique attractions when it comes to French. So the first thing is that our student body is diverse and welcoming. In the program, about half of people are from English-speaking backgrounds, the other half are either Francophones or from other language backgrounds. We don't expect everyone who wants to take courses in French to be fluent. And our department, whatever your level, our department is set up to get you there, get you where you want to go with the language. Before you take your first course, you'll do a language placement test and you'll be put in a group at whatever level fits you right. If your French is pretty good, no worries. You'll start at a higher level and you can go straight into advanced language courses and into what we call our specialist courses. So what are these specialist courses? Usually you start these in your second or third year. And if you want to get started right away, there's a first year seminar taught by a pair of full-time professors. They'll introduce you to thinking about the place of French literature and French linguistics in the world. So French literature, that's one of our 2 main program streams. Faculty members have a bunch of different geographic and historical specializations. So Canada, including La Nouvelle France, literature from the French colonies, 1700s, all the way to modern French literature in Canada. And then specialists like Professor Duff, who's joined us today, specialists in world literature in French, whether it's the Caribbean or Francophone Africa, or specialists in France, as well as literature that focuses on the experience of immigration. So French Lit, it's also great for thinking about what's meaningful in your life. Like, why do I feel so good and so real when I read poetry in French? Or what does it mean to live and to think in French? Tackling some of the big questions, hard questions that come up clearly in literature. How does society get tripped up in things like racism and inequality? How does literature help to address and understand these questions? The other thing we do a great job of is French linguistics, second specialization. So what's that? Whereas everything you've probably done in your French classes up to now is all about how you're supposed to speak French. Well, French linguistics is about the language as it really is. So how do people actually speak French? How is the French spoken in Quebec or in Paris different from what they teach you in school? And the image here, you can see even in France, there's variation from one area to another. It's really different, the ways that people speak French in some regions. Or questions like, how are French sentences actually structured? You'll get to draw trees that show the structure of sentences and words. Or another question, where did French come from? And that's a pretty interesting story. So yeah, maybe you're wondering how all of this is going to work. So I want to let you know about our oral and written support services. There's ample free support for improving your spoken French. You can book one-on-one meetings with a prof or a more advanced student, take part in group conversations a few times a week with the occasional game thrown in. Lots of laughs. And there's support for your written French too. So we'll teach you how to use grammar checking tools to get your assignments in good shape. We'll even go through your assignment with you before you hand it in. We'll help you get that A if you put the time into your work. And all this, it's included in the program and it's at no extra cost to you. Some of the other fun activities, the Club Francophone, random stuff from bowling to grammar trivia competitions, cabane à sucre, all the while getting to talk in French with other students. Or we have a weekly soirée pub, a pub night at Patty's Pub every week. And I can recommend some beers for you if you want to learn more about that. And then CUSFA, the Carleton University French Association, they organize, it's students who organize and offer activities. You can get involved in organizing or you can just participate. Other things you can do during your degree, there's opportunities to gain experience as a language teaching assistant or sometimes a research assistant, and you get to pass on what you're learning to other students and you get paid for it. Or a co-op, paid work experience during your degree, and you get credit for it. A lot of students who do that stay on with their employer after they're done their degree. We've got exchanges like summer programs in Quebec or spending a semester or a year taking courses in Europe, usually France or Belgium. And one of our exchange universities is at the foot of the Alps. It doesn't get much better than that. And then finally, one of our star courses, which deserves a special shout out, is our Quebec City course. Every spring, one of the profs takes a class to Quebec City, spends 2 or 3 weeks learning the history, culture, and literature of the city, visiting the places that you get to learn about. So a lot of different opportunities here. And well, maybe it sounds too good to be true. So let's get to what you've been probably looking forward to the most. And that's getting to hear about how it actually is from students in our program. So again, Marta, a current student, and Jose, who graduated recently. Bonjour, Marta and Jose. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bonjour, happy to be here.
Bonjour.
So we'd love to hear about your experiences as a French major here at Carleton. And I've got a few questions for you. Just trying to figure out why you like it so much. So first, Marta, why don't you tell us why you chose Carleton? And then Jose, you can tell us as well.
So I'm here doing a double major or combined honors. So I'm doing French on one side and then applied linguistics on the other side. So part of why I came here is because you don't get to do both of these programs at every single university. Like they're not necessarily available at every university. So that's definitely part of it. And also because I'm from Edmonton, so that's way out west, and there's a lot less French or Francophone influence in that city. So I wanted to come here because it's right by Gatineau. I could go over and speak French or just around the city, actually use it in day-to-day life, as opposed to just in the class and then that's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And Jose, were your reasons similar, or why did you choose Carleton for French?
Actually, so when I was in high school, a class, music class, my music teacher actually went to Carleton. Somebody I really trusted is like, okay, where do you think I should go? And he said, listen, I've gone to 2 universities. I went to the University of Western Ontario and Carleton. And let me tell you that my experience having been to 2 different universities was the best at Carleton. And I listened to him and I went to Carleton, and whatever he described his experience was the same for me, that it was very welcoming. I have never felt that I wanted to go to another university. In fact, I have 2 degrees from Carleton.
Okay, so not just 1 degree, but 2. So does either of you want to tell us, is there a moment during your degree when you were just really proud about something in your program or an accomplishment, anything like that?
I definitely have one. I don't know if Jose wants to go first, since I went first on the last one, or...
Sure, I'll go first. Okay, so like they've mentioned, the French program, it's not like it's for I, as a non-francophone, I had definitely had doubts, like, can I actually do this by the end of it? With the French placement, definitely started not the basic one, but the one above that, the second course, which was still a pretty low level French course. My proudest moment would be the time when I became one of the people that was supporting the oral and the written. So at that point, I had this sense of accomplishment. Okay, I've improved so much within several years, well, a few years, really, 3 years, that I am at this level, that I am able to help others who could have been in my position in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great, Jose. And Marta, how about for you?
That's kind of interesting because mine also relates a bit to the sense that kind of sort of wondering if I'm able to really be here and do this kind of thing. And I remember that before COVID hit and everything like that, I was lucky enough to actually get a position working with the French department, helping at the department. And because of that, I ended up getting invited to this one luncheon, you could say, with the department. And it was actually Professor Duff. And I vividly remember this because at that luncheon, we started talking and she said to me, completely out of the blue, unprompted, wow, your French has improved so much since we last spoken. And to me, that was just like, oh, wow, she didn't have to say that at all, but like it was completely unprompted. I hadn't asked her anything, but she just pointed it out of the blue. And for me, that was like, oh, wow, I have actually improved.
It's pretty wonderful to see the progress that each of our students make. Like I often meet them in their first or second year, and then they do an advanced course or 2 with me, and I'm just so I'm amazed at the progress that you've made, over your degrees. So oh yeah, and my proudest moment was when I dreamed in French for the first time, incidentally. Yeah. What's your favorite course? If you look back on your courses, what was your favorite course and why?
That's a bit of a hard question in a way because there are so many courses that I've taken that I really like. I'm gonna have to narrow it down to 2 of them, as I just can't choose just one. So one of them would be the French grammar course that I took back in first year. It was 2110 with Frenat Léger. And it was one of the courses where at the beginning, like I obviously had to put a lot of work into it and work really hard to be able to get to the level that I needed to be and kind of thing, just work and keep up with that. And at the beginning, I was like, what am I doing here again? And at the end, it was like, no, this is fine. This is fine. I'm good. Like, I like this. And then the other course would be History of a French Language, which I took with Professor Urbain. And it was just really interesting learning about the history of the language. And it just makes so much more sense now that I figured that part out. Like, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, like French, it's a world language now, but it hasn't always been that way. So you'll get to find out about that if you take that course. And Jose, what was your favorite course?
Yeah, I'd have to narrow it down to two as well. Not because I've taken both these two courses with two professors present here. So I speak other Romance languages. So I speak Italian, I speak Galician, and I speak Spanish, And so taking French, because I get really technical with languages and I have to make sense of it with what I know. So two of the classes that I had really liked was the morphology and the syntax one, because not all languages function, even Romance languages, they don't always function the same. And yes, I'm getting too technical with this, but how it made sense to me when I'd taken these courses. How do I make sense of the way French is based on what I know previously?
Yeah. Oh, that's great, Jose. So yeah, morphology, how words function, word grammar, and then syntax, how words and phrase come together, fit in sentences, and actually how they communicate meaning together. That's great.
Precisely.
Yeah. So, and then the last question I have for you, and I already see it in progress, and I'm so proud actually to see where you've made it even after your degree, Jose. But for both of you, where has your degree taken you, Jose? And then for both of you, where do you hope your degree takes you? And how are you preparing for the next steps?
Right. So after having graduated, as you may have noticed, I love languages. And so right now I am at Queen's University taking a Bachelor's of Ed, and my first teachable is French, and my second teachable is chemistry. Yes. You may say that this is a weird combination, but this is your golden ticket if you want to be a teacher in Ontario. You will not be out of a job. I guarantee it, especially at this time in our lives.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. And Marta, how about you? What are you thinking about? Do you have plans yet?
I'm in my fourth year of 5, taking 5 because I'm doing a double major. And I'm currently in the process of chatting with career services and chatting with some people that I kind of know in fields that I might be interested in. And I'm also definitely looking at going into doing a master's and then possibly also PhD. So I'm still really putting out the feelers and seeing where I could possibly go, but it's definitely a work in progress. And I think that French is definitely going to be helping me just because the fields that I'm looking in are very language related. So the more languages I know, the better, in essence.
Well, you've set your sights high, and I'm sure you're going to make it there. Yeah. Well, thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you.
And so for those of you who want to find out more, you can write or talk to me, the department, or even Marta and Jose if you want to get in contact with them if you have questions. You can check out our department website, programs, courses, activities, videos. Got a new video featuring one of our students. And we're here today after the presentation on African studies. We'll be here to answer questions as well. So I hope you enjoyed this part of today. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, hopefully meeting some of you next year. And now I'm really happy to turn it over to our colleagues in African studies, so Professor Duff and Professor Otiono. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Eric. And it's really cool for me to be here, not only for African Studies, but with my French department colleagues. So welcome and thank you for attending this session about French, to learn more about French and about African Studies. So my name is Christine Duff. I am the director of the Institute of African Studies. And here with me today is my colleague, Professor Nduka Otiono. So I will just get up, I have a PowerPoint that I will attempt to share. Oh, I'm not allowed to share apparently. What's going on? Okay, so okay, maybe someone here can help me with this. I don't know. It's telling me I cannot share.
Do you want it right to upload, Christine?
Yes.
In case you had the file ready and as an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Christine. There's an arrow in the middle. I think you can just use that, just the same. Can you say
just present? Yeah, I was trying to share screen and it doesn't allow me to do that. Giovanna, I'm getting help here. Be able to share as a speaker.
Let me try if I can.
Okay. And Giovanna's checking it for us as well in case.
I just. Just a moment. I think I have it on my.
Okay, well, I can get started while Nduka is kindly looking after that side of things for me for the moment. So for many of you, if you're just coming out of high school or coming back to university studies, African studies might be a new thing for you, might be entirely new to you. And we are really fortunate at Carleton because we have a very unique standalone Department of African Studies, the Institute of African Studies, and it's the only one of its kind in Canada with degree programs. And being in the nation's capital is a real advantage for us because of proximity to federal government, NGOs, community organizations. So in coming to the Institute of African Studies at Carleton, you'll not only get a very good, grounded and broad studies of Africa for all aspects of this vast and diverse continent. And so one thing that marks our program is its interdisciplinary nature. And so what does that mean? It is, you can study the continent of Africa and its diasporas from any number of given angles. For example, myself, my area is literature, and so I look at the diaspora in Caribbean and the literature of French expression in the west of the continent. So we have students who do double major in political science and African studies, history and African studies, music, film, literature, many different programs that you can look to study Africa. And a lot of the work that we do is, to begin with, like people like me, for example, who went through the education system here in Canada and was not exposed to African studies, and to help give good grounding to start to interrogate and learn about the continent. And it's in many regards a question of questioning and moving away from stereotypical images and media images that we've been raised on, so many of us. So deepening and broadening understanding of this immense and diverse continent. There are 54 countries, almost 2,000 languages on the continent. So there's this diversity, the geographical, political, cultural landscape is varied. And so our courses help to introduce you to the different angles and lenses through which you can study Africa, and also placing Africa into the global context. So, and highlighting the role, different ways of thinking that maybe that have not been dominant in Western culture, and bringing out the contributions and the role of the African continent. So we have undergraduate program, and we have the possibility of doing like a 3-year African Studies only degree. We also have the double major or the combined honors, and you can, as I mentioned, you can pair that with multiple different disciplines. And we also have a specialization in the Bachelor of Global and International Studies, as a program that Eric mentioned a little earlier on. And we do a minor as well. So there are many different ways you can incorporate African studies into your studies. And we have particular part of our program is we have a large emphasis on experiential learning. So it's we have a couple of options for students majoring in African studies. We have a placement course, which is an experience. You earn a half credit for a placement that could be on the continent, could be in the Ottawa-Gatineau region. The possibilities are really endless in terms of that experience, putting your learning out into the world and gaining other experience. And then the second one, and there we are, triumph. Thank you. The other one is what we call the study abroad course. So every spring, we take a group of students to a destination on the continent. It changes from year to year according to the subject and the area of specialization of the instructor offering the course. So in the past, we have gone to South Africa, Malawi, Ghana, Kenya, Burkina Faso, and one of the slides is even from the 2012 study abroad in Burkina Faso. My colleague Abubakar Sanogo, who is a professor in film, took the group. I was lucky enough to tag along to Burkina Faso, which is an important center of film. There's Nollywood in Nigeria, but there's Burkina Faso, which is the home to a very important film festival. And we had that lived experience of being there and getting to access, filmmakers and archives. And so it's just a fabulous hands-on experience. So maybe if what I could do is pass it over to Nduka, who's going to sort of pick up on some of these things, talk about some of our courses, the actual courses that we offer, and also, career possibilities and other elements that of the program. So I'll pass it over to Nduka now. If it looks like we've got a handle on the technology now. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Dove, for giving us that heads up. Yes, I have on the screen some of the courses that we actually offer at the Institute. As you would see, there's a lot of courses, some of them on the global, some of them also dealing with African regions. I happen to be the professor who teaches some of these courses. And I can tell you that our students are usually very excited about these courses. We have a course, besides the regional courses on West Africa, Horn of Africa, the Great Lakes of Africa, North Africa, and Southern Africa. We have these other courses at the undergraduate level, globalization, youth culture, and popular culture in Africa. This is one of our hit courses because it allows students, to get close up on youth culture in Africa, and then also on those aspects of African cultural production, especially with the younger generation. So this allows us, for example, to talk about the importance of hip hop and how youth in Africa have used this for political intervention. We have the African City, African literature, African cinema. And then we also have spoken word poetry workshop, which we started this year. And this is in association with the Department of English. And then there's also the African and the digital turn. There are a whole lot of other courses that we have: politics of war in Africa, human rights, gender and sexuality, African migrations and diasporas. And then we have, I think Professor Dove has talked about some of these, but I'd like to focus on not just the annual conferences and the Brown Bag series and Knowing Africa seminars, which are very popular across the university, not just within Carleton here, but also in the larger African studies community in North America and then across the continent as well. So we have our students, have led the undergraduate conference, which we are very proud of. It had been the only undergraduate conference on African studies in this part of the world, and we are really, really proud of our students. Our students also engage in the community through the student association called ISA, Institute of African Studies Students Association. And then we now have the work study internships. So these are all of these opportunities that are available in terms of course enrichment. And then we have these other career opportunities that will lead way that students who in African studies who take our courses would enjoy. I would have loved to play some video that show the exciting reports, from our students who are graduated, our alumni. But I think we don't have that much time today. And then I will yield to my colleague, Professor Dove, to take us through some of these career opportunities while I try to pull off at least one of these videos so you can hear from one of our students real time. Over to you, Professor Dove.
Okay, thank you very much, Nduka. So our students, really the possibilities in terms of careers are endless because of the interdisciplinary nature of African studies and the many different directions that specialized knowledge can be taken in. We have students who have gone into journalism, who've gone into the federal public service, provincial public service, working with NGOs, development agencies. So there are all these possibilities, and built into the program, as I was mentioning before, with the placement course, that's a chance to sort of test the waters when you're still in your program to see how, actually being involved in one of these areas, for example, if you choose to work with an NGO or a community organization, and it's a real hands-on experience, and you see the sort of your the insights and the critical competencies that you've gained through your program, you really are able to put them to work in day-to-day situations while keeping a broad, keeping the big picture in mind. So that's to say, and you'll see on this slide, there are so many. It really runs the gamut of possibilities. So we've had, students who majored in economics and African studies, and then went on to work with, global affairs and analyzing their programs. So that kind of thing. So I don't know, Nduka, how are we doing on that?
Yes, so yes, I think, let me quickly, I think I could just take a moment to share this slide. Not this slide, actually. Where am I right now?
And Nduka, make sure you press on the share sound at the same time.
Yes.
Share sound button.
It takes a while, when it's booting to just connect. But I'm hoping that that I can. Okay. Are you seeing this screen right now?
Oh, yes.
Alumni stories. Are you seeing it?
Yes.
Can you hear the sound too?
Not really, no.
Some people graduate and they have a straight line to like what they're gonna do. I've been kind of on the other side of that spectrum, so I can say a bit about like, what happened to me after graduating. Carleton and then taking journalism in African studies. After that, I got an internship for magazine that's now called Carleton magazine in Toronto. So I interned with them, ended up getting this digital editor. And then I thought I wanted to try working in community arts, so I got a contract working for an organization. Did that for a bit, and then I was like, maybe I want to go back to journalism. So I got a job with Radio Canada, which is the French CBC, and I ended up training in Saskatchewan, and then living in Vancouver for 2 years. So I reported for Radio Canada out west for about a year in the US. And then I got a summer gig at
So we can't hear the sound, so it's probably best to just continue with the next part, I guess, and then maybe save a little time for questions for either program.
Yeah. Okay. And then Duca, you're on mute. You're still muted. No. So maybe what we'll do is while Duca gets unmuted, maybe we can take any questions.
Did you?
That,
I didn't.
students.
You didn't hear this. I wasn't hearing the sound. Oh, so sorry.
No, that's okay. So
yeah, let me just give you a quick insight. So that's one of the Carleton graduates from the Institute of African Studies who was being interviewed, and she has made a mark in journalism already. This is a 2018 graduate, and who took a collaborative degree in African Studies and journalism. And she was also one of the prime coordinators of the Institute of African Studies Students Association. Excuse me. I think I'll put out the link, and students can, applicants can check it out. It's a very fascinating story. So over to you, Professor Dove.
Okay, so if there are any questions from anybody who's attending, I'd be happy to answer, and also questions for French.
I had some questions in the chat and I answered them.
Okay.
Because we had kind of questions at the end of our presentation, so I answered them already. Right. So people have left, I think. I'll check.
Okay.
Or if you know someone who can volunteer, you can volunteer to help them in any way.
And Duca has put the link to Mugoli's video in the chat for anyone who'd like to have a look at that.
Yes.
It's the epitome of humanity. Those who know me very well know I'm not giving.
Okay, so we're approaching end of time, and we're here for questions now, but you're also welcome to join us in our booth afterward, and there will be separate booths for African Studies and for French, and we'll be happy to meet with you there and talk face to face or answer any questions. So yeah, thanks so much everybody for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And then you can see I posted more links that you could also access. So if you just copy that link, that's going to be useful afterwards. Thank you, everyone.
And we also have a booth for questions for African Studies. I'll be there for half an hour after the presentation. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Au revoir.
Thanks so much, folks, for joining us today. I hope you learned a little bit of information. Booth should be open pretty much right after this conversation is done. So when you're ready, you can just pop over to your booths, and the presentation should be there. So thanks so much for logging in today, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day.
How do we? Does anybody know how to get to the booth?